Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac filling in for one Dan Strafford, joined by one Alafi D. And today I'm going to post the right recording. For all of you on SoundCloud, I didn't find out till I had gone to work that I had put up an old recording, so y'all had to go listen to it on YouTube. My apologies.
How is that new job going, by the way?
Oh, it's been good, Laffy, but we're right into the mix, right into the fire and the busy time. So
Good.
No rest for the wicked, as they say, but it's good. Thank you for
Are you
asking.
saying you're wicked?
I am Elphaba, I guess. So there you go. Have you ever seen the show Wicked?
No.
Oh, it's actually really good. I was like, my wife really wanted to see it. I went to it. It was phenomenal. I didn't even know what it was about.
Oh, like the Broadway show.
Yeah, the musical. So basically,
no, I've never seen a single Broadway show, actually.
Never. Interesting. I've seen a handful more musicals than actual. Like I haven't seen anything on Broadway, but I've seen, maybe 10 or so musicals like Oklahoma and Guys and Dolls and Showboat and stuff like that, the classics. But nothing really
Hamilton.
New. I have not seen Hamilton. I would like
Me neither.
But anyway, really quick, and then we'll get into baseball. But Wicked is the story of Glinda the Good Witch and the Wicked Witch growing up and going to school together. And they were friends. And you see everything from the aspect of Elphaba, who is the Wicked Witch. And
gripping.
Turns out she's not wicked, and it's this whole misunderstanding, and she actually does what she does to help save the kingdom. So there you go. It was an interesting take on it. It was a look behind the screen. Sort of like have you seen this is like Strafford. I'm filling in perfectly. We're gonna talk TV. What is it? Not Miyagi though. Cobra Kai. It's this show on YouTube, I think it is. I don't think it's Netflix, but I've seen some of them on YouTube.
It's a show on YouTube,
so basically it's Karate Kid with Daniel LaRusso and whatever the bad guy's name was, Johnny Lawrence, and they are played by the same characters, and you kind of see that Johnny really wasn't such a bad evil jerk, and it's kind of funny, and they both have restarted their karate studios, and it's just an interesting take. Similar to that. So anyway,
that is something.
There you go. I know it's not nudity and dragons, but it is pretty good. All right, 9 Gamer here. We're going to talk to Late Slate. You will get the DFS strategy show that'll be covering those early games there. Slate's chopped up all over the place. We've got some at 12:30, some at 3, some at 6 o'clock. We're going to hit the 9 on the main slate. We'll talk pitching. We'll give you some stacks. We'll have some fun. But reminder, shout out to our presenting sponsor from Yahoo Fantasy Sports. Best part about them, they're running a no management fee contest yet again. Get in that early. It's $3 entry on, Wednesday. It's going to be $6,000, no management fees. So that means they are not taking anything out. $6,000 will come in, $6,000 will go out. 10 entry max. If you have not yet signed up, use the promo code OSMO. Come in on one of our links and get a $30 match on your initial deposit. That's called the deposit bonus, Laffy. If you need that link, check out any of my spotlight hitters and stacks article. The link and instructions are in the second paragraph. All right, Laffy, had a lot of weather concerns on Tuesday night. Some messes here and there. We had a delayed or a suspended game that was handled differently by all the sites. Kind of a mess. Didn't think we could screw up baseball, yet somehow we managed to do just that. But we're on to a new day. I believe you were on a show that used to talk about being a forward-looking show.
Yes.
So we're going to borrow that phrase, and let's talk about your Philadelphia Phillies with Aaron Nola checking in as one of the more intriguing options on the slate. He is going against the St. Louis Cardinals. They have Genesis Cabrera. That is the first time I've read or said his name, but a little bit of weather issue in this one up in Philly. So that'll be one we want to focus on. We had the gift that keeps on giving, also known as the Baltimore Orioles. Yet it's the immovable object, the irresistible force yet again, Ryan Carpenter. Oh boy, who's going to win that one? Hopefully the DFSers. You've got Blake Snell, so I know you have some thoughts about the Snellvator. We got Bumgarner, 9,900 there on DK going against Pablo Lopez. You got Anibal Sanchez. Revenge, I think he played for the the Bravos at some point. He's played for darn near everybody. Kevin Gausman, intriguing there. Wade Miley, Kyle Hendricks, Ronaldo Lopez, Robbie Ray in Coors, Jeff Hoffman, Noah Syndergaard, Walker Buehler. We've got some choices here, Laffy. Take it from the top. Is that going to be Nola or the Snellevator?
Yeah, it's a valid question. We got 9 games here. No real afternoon slate, only a couple games, so we don't really need to go there. It's funny because Aaron Nola's best start this season, or one of his best starts, came against St. Louis. Actually, his second best start of the season came against St. Louis. And it's been odd. I hate to reference this all the time, but I honestly feel like the guy has done significantly better in warm weather. I'm willing to count the Wrigley game out because there were heavy winds blowing out, and the conditions there are very hitter friendly with the winds. But in the warmer weather, he's just, for some reason, he has appeared to have played or pitched much better. And I guess some guys have a better feel for their stuff in warmer temperatures. When it's cold out, that's not the case. 83 degrees first pitch, going to go down to a nice 78 throughout the game. Now, there is a pretty significant potential for rain, so that's worth keeping an eye on. But I do think Nola's an interesting option here for a couple of reasons. Despite all of his struggles this year, I mean, we know that he still has good stuff, and he just seemed to have been commanding it much better over his last couple of outings. And this is a guy that's been very good against right-handed hitters throughout his career. He's going to face a lot of them. It's funny because even this season, he's allowing a sub 200 WOBA or sub 300 WOBA to righties. You would think it would be higher than that. It's not. He has a 26% K rate against righties, a 19% K minus BB rate, and a 3.23 xFIP. I mean, these are very solid numbers. And I think that price is just pretty friendly on a day where you're going to have at least 6 righties in the St. Louis lineup, where your lefties, you got Fowler, fine, Carpenter's all right, Colton Wong's not special. I do think it's a very viable spot for Nola, and most of it because that price point is just really friendly. At the top, obviously Blake Snell is, if you want to, he's going to be worth paying for. Wouldn't be surprised if his ownership is lower, though, because guys like Madison Bumgarner are facing the Miami Marlins. I will point out, though, I think this could be a letdown spot for Bumgarner owners in the event that he doesn't go deep into the game, because I think he's going to need to go deep into this game. Miami doesn't strike out that often against lefties, which, like, I get it. They're not a good team, but against lefties, they aren't as bad. And it makes sense because they generally run out, 8 or 9 righty lineups, right? So their WOBA, their ISO, they're not great. The WRC plus, really nothing to write home about, but their K rate is sub 20%. It is the 5th lowest in the league against southpaws. So I do think that's something to consider. If Bumgarner is going to be chalk, and that maybe he'll go deep, but the strikeouts aren't there, it's very possible that not having Bumgarner doesn't kill you because he only gives you 5 or 6 Ks. If he's not going complete game shutout, you'd probably be all right. And then EMAC, you got Walker Buehler, another pretty favorable spot against the Mets. He's at 9,600 on DraftKings. So from that 9K and up range, there's a lot to talk about. Even Kyle Hendricks, I'm not going to pay for him here because it's too much. But with Altuve and Springer out of the lineup, this is a skeleton crew of a lineup for Houston, where on Tuesday they started Derek Fisher and White batting 5th, and Jack Mayfield and Tony Kemp and Jake Marisnick and Garrett Stubbs. They're also without Aledmys Diaz. So that's not the same lineup, but it's hard to pay that much for Kendricks when you have Nola $200 cheaper, Buehler $600 more. Bumgarner's a good cash play, probably fade in tournaments. And then Blake Snell at 11-3 against a very, very underwhelming Toronto team that has shown really nothing of value this season and has a top 10 K rate and a bottom 10 WRC plus against lefties.
The intriguing thing I'm seeing here with Bumgarner is it's a bit of a pattern. He's got 10 starts. He's gone 11 starts. He's gone 68 innings. He has 70 strikeouts, so a tick over a strikeout per inning. In his last 10 games, he has gone 7 innings once, 6 1/3 once, 5 2/3 once, and the other 7 are 6 innings exactly.
Yep.
He's been going in his last 7 starts, he's gone 100 to 107 pitches. So it's not like he's getting shortchanged on the opportunity. He's just not being as efficient because we're seeing the strikeouts, which is good. But if you're only capping yourself out there at 6 innings, it's kind of hard because you really just for a break point. I think it was Todd Zola that wrote this once upon a time. He called it the rule of 13. And this wasn't for DFS. This was streaming pitchers back in season long leagues. But he said you'll want to look for pitchers that are going to get a combination of 6 to 7 innings and 6 to 7 strikeouts. You want that 13, and we're barely seeing that with Bumgarner, and he's not cheap. If he was 7,900, this would be the perfect guy. We'd be doing cartwheels. 9,900, not so much. On Yahoo, he is the fourth most expensive pitcher, coming in at 46. Nola is $1 more. Bueller is $2 more, and Blake Snell is 10% more, topping everybody at 53. So just kind of putting that in perspective there. If this game was out in San Francisco, we could probably start to look towards to Bumgarner on the late slate as the best play. But with this game going off on the main slate, I still lean a little bit more towards Nola, weather pending, or finding a way to get to Blake Snell, because that Toronto lineup just not overly fierce, even though they do have the sons of 2 Hall of Famers in their starting lineup now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, so above 9K, if you had to pick 3 of them, who would they be for tournaments?
I would go with Snell. I would go with Nola. And I guess Bueller, but I'd almost rather go down to Thornton and take the savings. Because the tricky part with Bueller there is, again, his pitch count he's not being cheated by any stretch. It's just coming down to kind of an innings thing for him as well. He's averaging about 6 innings per start. He's averaging about 96 pitches per start over his most recent month and a half. So he's someone that I think is okay. I don't know what to do with the Mets. Now, the Mets are down a couple hitters. With Robbie Cano. Never hustle, kids, as Matt Berry says. Never hustle. Nothing good comes from it. But he's on the shelf with a hamstring issue. Nimmo went on the shelf. So they're down. They're down a couple of their decent hitters. Bueller's good. The Dodgers bullpen is solid. I don't think they'd blow the win if he gets it, but it's not like the win's a gimme for any pitcher these days. So I think it would be Bueller, but I wouldn't say anybody was wrong by dropping down to another 1,200, 2,000 and try to find somebody cheaper.
All right. The mid-range too, you got Gossman's always an interesting option, but again, it's going to be tough to get to a guy like him against a Nats team that's getting healthy when you have Nola there. And then Robbie Ray, like it's always sketchy, and the Rockies have so many talented righties that crush lefties at Coors, like just astronomical numbers. But at the same time, like Robbie Ray's strikeout stuff is really good. I mean, he had 23 fantasy points at Coors last time out, 5 runs, only 1 earned, but 7 strikeouts. I mean, Robbie Ray's got a 30% K rate. So I mean, I don't think it's crazy to assume that you could get a decent game from Robbie Ray. And look, he struggles to go deep into games. I mean, it's rough, man. He's made 11 starts this year, and he's gone 6 innings or more in 2 of them. Actually, 6 innings even in 2, nothing higher than that. It's a concern, but his K upside is so ridiculous that he could go 5 innings and still have 30 fantasy points. And he relies on a slider, not a looping curveball, which should help him. I mean, obviously he's a risk, but having low exposure to Robbie Ray, to me, is not a crazy idea at all.
No, and especially when you consider how much some of their guys are going to strike out. Now, they're down Blackman. They had somebody else that was a minor character, was dinged up, but they're probably going to end up playing similar to what they've been running out against righties, with some version of Murphy, Dahl, and Tapia in there. We might see Chris Iannetta against the lefty, although he is going on Tuesday night. But then we know Story and Arenado are going to be in there. Now, Arenado doesn't strike out, 15%. But Story and Tapia and Dahl, they all strike out 25 to 30%. That's a fair amount there. McMahon doesn't strikes out a decent amount. And Ian Desmond, I swear to God, when I watch, he's not He's not patient at the plate. He doesn't always strike out, but guy never takes a walk. That's
No,
all the way back to his Nationals days. So he's somebody that can be enticed to swing at least. And when you're going against a guy as good as Robbie Ray, that could end up with some strikeouts. So it's an adequate strikeout matchup. It's just a little terrifying because it is in Denver at 5,820 feet.
absolutely.
I noticed we both dodged Noah Syndergaard.
I just don't think it's. I just don't think it's necessary. You know,
Is there upside with him? Is it gone?
I mean, here's the thing: 9,300 isn't crazy, but I just like Nola more. I like Bueller more. Um, I'd rather pay up for Snell. The Dodgers are a good team.
Yeah, yeah.
I just expect them to make life hell on the guy. And it's not like he has a crazy high walk rate, but there's just Syndergaard. He hasn't pieced it all together, man. You would think that he has. I know it sounds crazy, and he's had a couple really solid games. He had that one monster complete game, 10 strikeout shutout against Cincy, and then his good start against Washington. But like when you look at this, he's made 11 starts, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them have been less than 20 fantasy points. And you're paying a premium. You're paying 9K plus for him. Like at least with Nola, we knew something was wrong, and it looks like he's begun to figure it out. Right. With this, it's a little bit different. And I don't know if the upside's there against the Dodgers, because not only are they a just power laden team from top to bottom with good lefties and good righties, but you're talking about a team that on the season is third in WRC plus against righties. They are fourth in in ISO. I think they're second in WOBA, fourth in WOBA. Like all of these numbers are good, and then factor in their 19% K rate is the third lowest in baseball. It's just not a good matchup. I mean, you said I'm not trying to use one game samples, but Jacob deGrom looked miserable yesterday, and he's a much better pitcher than Noah Syndergaard. It's just a tough spot. And the funny thing is, deGrom only allowed 2 earned runs, but they ran the pitch count up. He wasn't missing bats. Pretty brutal.
Do you know? I'm assuming you may have come across it in your writing. Do you know what the career ERA and WHIP numbers are for Kyle Hendricks? This just blew my mind.
I'd say career ERA 2.93, and I'm just taking a guess. And WHIP, you said?
Yeah.
0.97.
You give him way more credit than I did, but you're very close. 3.1 and 1.1.
Okay, so I was just a few.
Oh yeah, no, that's pretty impressive. He's got 143 starts across basically 5 full seasons. He got 13 starts his rookie year, and then he's had 10 thus far this year.
Well, that's the thing. He's always been a really good real life pitcher.
Yeah,
he's just not a great fantasy pitcher. And I mean, look, if you wanted Kyle Hendricks, if he was 8K here, I'd probably have a good amount of him. Because there should be some strikeouts here. And I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls a Giolito and goes 9 innings. But it doesn't feel like the highest upside spot. I also want to see what this lineup looks like for Houston, because I mean, hell, that lineup yesterday was hardly imposing, right?
I didn't see why Correa was out, but the one that shocked me was how the hell did they not have Chirinos in there against a lefty? I mean, he has good power against righties as well. He's the Mike Zunino.
Like a throwaway game or something, because
that
lineup won't be that bad though. That's the thing. Like you said, Correa, Chirinos, it won't be as bad as it was.
All right. But anyway, to finish the thought up there with Hendricks, the reason I bring him up, he's 41 on Yahoo. So that's in there as a, hey, guy, don't get blown up for me. And the way their scoring works is, you still want the strikeouts, but it's not quite as heavily weighted as DraftKings, which is kind of the obvious direct comparison for a 2-pitcher site. But then you also, even though you can stack 6 players over there on offense, the way they have their scoring set up, it actually favors individual hitters more, meaning home
Right.
runs are a little bit higher, runs are little bit higher, but RBI are a little bit lower. Extra base hits tend to be a little bit lower there, so it just favors the individual hitter more, as opposed to FanDuel where their RBI and runs are bumped up, so it makes more sense to double stack there. So just as we're doing more and more here with Yahoo, I just want to point out some of the different strategies and nuances, because we have a lot of people that are flocking over there. And I mean, gosh, you play there, 10 entries, it costs $30, no management fee, and then it's your best 10 against everybody else's best 10 that's going to do 10.
Yep.
You're not facing the 150 lineups of those other turkeys out there that we like to shake our fist at. So here's your chance to go in there. And you can even use the optimizers. You still enter everything by hand, but it doesn't take that long once you're just typing in names and hitting enter or selecting them. So not too shabby. Continue on down our pricing list here. Let's see. There was somebody else we had not mentioned as much. Thornton going against Tampa Bay. Price has come up. He's actually been a reasonably good pitcher. He's had a couple sketchy starts. One of them actually did come against Tampa Bay. The last time he faced them, he managed to go. Let's see, where is it? 3 innings. Got 5 earned runs. 10 base runners was more or less the problem there. Tampa Bay, not the easiest team to go against anymore. They actually are similar to the Mariners. Have a bunch of guys that aren't particularly household names, but they can get the job done. No real easy outs there, and they go heavy on the platoon advantage. Would you consider, as we move down the pricing sheet, Thornton, perhaps a John Means in an excellent matchup against Detroit? That is a bit of a mess at the plate and not very deep. Perhaps a Pablo Lopez against San Francisco. What do you like in this lower tier?
You know, it's funny. There are 2 pitchers that I know absolutely nothing about on this slate. Glenn Sparkman. I don't
That's a
know.
made up name. There's nobody named Glenn Sparkman.
It's funny because the guy's thrown 24 and a third, 2/3 innings this season. Only 1 start though. I must have missed it. Like I don't remember it. It was 7 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts against Tampa Bay, which is pretty funny because he's not getting a lot of strikeouts at all. Not going Hoffman. McGowan. I don't intend on going to Kyle McGowan. God, it is. Are we sure it's the same Ryan Carpenter? That's I don't know. That's wild.
As opposed to who?
I don't know. It's just
This is the bad Ryan Carpenter.
oh, I'm well aware. It's just
are there good Ryan Carpenters out there?
I don't know how he keeps finding his way up. Ryan Carpenter has really struggled to have any success. Anytime actually, I guess he's only been up a couple times.
Yeah,
I
he's
just
only
remember
made 3 starts. So
well, last season he was up too.
yeah.
And he was terrible. But yeah, I guess I remember him being up longer. God, it's been a while for
five home runs in 14 innings. He's allowed 1 earned run in his last start. Congrats on that. 7 in the one before and 6 in the one before that. By the way, tack on an extra 2 runs that were unearned in that stretch. His strikeouts just shy of 1 per inning. The walks a bit not overly concerning, but he doesn't really get anybody out. So the ball's always in play with him. He's just a bit of a mess here. But if you want to get a little wiggy, he is going against Baltimore. He's 5,400. So there is always,
I think you have an easier time. I think you'd have an easier time just going to Pablo Lopez.
Okay.
For Miami against the Giants. I mean, when you talk about teams that are just really bad, the Giants are brutal, man. They're almost as bad as the Miami Marlins, offensively in most categories. WRC plus 78, Marlins are 71. Ice or Woba 285, Marlins are 273. I mentioned this because the Marlins are dead last in all these categories. The Giants do have a 157 ISO, which is kind of in the middle of the league. But aside from that, even their strikeout rate, which is 24%, is up there. It's the 10th highest K rate against righties. And Pablo Lopez, oddly enough, well, it's not odd. the dramatic splits are odd, but not odd that he's been better at home. 200 WOBA allowed at home, a 0.05 ISO. Like, he's actually been pretty solid at home. Here's what's incredible: 29.9% K rate at home, 25% K minus BB rate, 3.21 XFIP. On the road, 18% K rate, 10% K minus BB rate, 2.22 home runs per nine, 0 home runs per nine at home. Granted, that'll balance out a little bit as the season goes on, but he's made 5 appearances at home, 6 on the road, and he's been incredible at home. Like, he's been really good at home. Mets, great against the Braves, amazing against the Mets. Let's see, solid against the Cubs. He's been really good at home. So you're getting a matchup against one of the worst offenses in the league. I'm on board, man. I'm on board. I think this is a perfectly solid spot. I also, keep in mind, I think he'll be popular. I do think Pablo Lopez is going to get quite a bit of ownership. And if you're looking to get away from that, you look for a low owned like Trent Thornton, who has some strikeout upside, coming off a 10K start, 3 starts back. He can rack out the Ks. It is a tough spot though, and my guess is he'll go overlooked. The total against him will be pretty high. He'll be a big dog on the money line against Snell. I don't hate that. And then the last one you mentioned, John Means. I definitely prefer righties against the Tigers because they run out like 8 righty lineups or 7, 8 righties in each lineup. But they should. What's their K rate against lefties? Do you know it off the top of your head?
I don't.
It's 26%. That's got to be like top. That's got to be top. It's got to be up there.
Oh, you mean overall? Yeah, 26 would put him probably about 8th or 9th, if not a little higher.
So there you have it. It's not bad. Means has a good changeup. I like that. That puts him at 9th. 26% still pretty high though. Means has a good changeup. Tournaments I like him, but I think Pablo Lopez is your catch SB2 if you're looking to spend down.
All right, I did a little digging here on Glenn Sparks because for the life of me, I could not remember him. He actually has 60 innings in the minors.
Come on now,
Sparkman. Sorry.
The Sparkmeister is what they call him actually out in Kansas City.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, did you know he played for the Idaho Chuckers?
I didn't. But it's not Sparkmeister, by the way. I just thought it sounded cool.
I know, and I wanted to see how far we could go. But it is actually the Idaho Chuckers, which is actually a bird. It was like they're not like kind of like a quail-like bird. Because I grew up in Eastern Washington, which butts up against Idaho, and we used to have chuckers out there in the sagebrush. But anyway, he's like the most snake bit pitcher. Let's see. He got drafted, had to go on the disabled list with an arm injury. They then decided it was Tommy John, so he missed that season in 2015, and then the first part of 2016, and then he got going, and then broke his thumb, and he's just been an absolute mess. So he's got 7 years under his belt. He's got 60 innings in the minors. He's got about 370 in the majors across that time. He's bounced around a little bit as a starter, a little bit as a reliever, but just wanted to point out that he is not a young fireballer that's coming up to dazzle us. It's a sacrificial lamb is more the appropriate analogy there. Anybody else, as you scroll up and down the pricing list, that perhaps needs to be mentioned, or did we? I think we hit all the notables.
I think we got him, man.
Other than Genesis Cabrera, who I don't know anything about. AAA Memphis.
I think we hit them all.
There we go. AAA Memphis with the 6.4 ERA, 1.6 WHIP in 40 innings. That's not very good. So
no.
You get the DFS strategy show at 9:30. That will be, that'll be Wednesday. So that'll be Adam and Josh. So definitely check that out. You'll get live before lock. That will be with Josh and I think Jake. And then you're going to get a 3-man booth. Is that correct? On Wednesday for the deep dive with
Monday,
yourself?
Tuesday, Wednesday. Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, will be joining us on the deeper dive.
Will his keyboard be making an appearance?
Good to hear him work, like he said.
Just had to put that one out there. Thanks, boss. Sorry about that. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. You've got all sorts of goodness that you can follow along here. You can get Lofty at Twitter, Lofty_D. I am at EMAC DFS. And of course, it is Osimo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.